Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Handbags, Manbags, Bumbags podcast. This week we come to you for episode 20, as we are following on with the episode regardless. And this week we come to you for another exciting episode of something that was something that I decided at the very last minute this afternoon, and gave the chaps a bit of a way to start off their afternoon with a bit of an interesting discussion that we may be having here. So, firstly, go back and listen to last week's episode where we launched the Handbags, Manbags, Bumbags podcast, and we are going forward with that for the future for many weeks to come. But this week, I tasked Rob and John to a little bit of a challenge, and that challenge is I gave them the opportunity to, over 6 seasons of the Premier League, ranging from the 06-07 season all the way through to 11-12, when Manchester City won their first title. The challenge was to pick 2 players from each of those seasons, ranging from 06 to 11-12. However, the catch was they couldn't play for any of the top 6 from those seasons. So, for example, if we took 07-08, for example, you wouldn't have been able to pick any players from Manchester United, Chelsea, Arsenal, Liverpool, Everton, or Aston Villa. We get the general gist, but we've devised 11 players. One of them would have had to have just one, because we've also got a manager from one season. So 6 seasons, 11 players and a manager, 2 from each. Should work out quite nicely. And I reckon this could be very open, because we may well have different players, and we'll discuss the illustrious careers of these players and what made them such good talents. So, starting off, how do we want to do it? Do you want to start with the goalkeeper or start with the manager first?
I'll start with the keeper, I reckon.
Yeah, start with the keeper and then work our way through. So,
yeah.
I'll let you two say your goalkeepers first and what season you chose them from, and then I'll say mine.
Okay, with mine, I've got a few stats on a few players as well.
I've not bothered stats driven. I've just picked players.
So I've picked an absolute legend, Ali Habsi from Wigan from the 2011-12 season, who managed to get 8 Premier League clean sheets.
Is one that went under the radar for me. That's one I didn't think of.
Same for me.
Absolutely, because Ali Al Habsi is one of them all-time great Premier League keepers. And
he was a consistent. Obviously they're not where they want to be now. They're in League One, but he was one of their vital players.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was the season. I think that was the season before Wigan got relegated that season, or it might well have been that season, but Ali Al Habsi was an integral part of that Wigan team that were so good for many years, but obviously due to financial issues are now not so good. But no, Ali Al Habsi is certainly a great shout, and it's one that I didn't think of, and that's what makes this so interesting and so good to do, because we're all going to have different things, and we're going to remember people that the rest of us will have thought of, and the others may not have. But do you want to go with yours next, Rob?
Yep. I've gone for a keeper from 2009-10 season. I've gone for Joe Hart while he was at Birmingham.
Good shout again.
Yeah, very good shout.
Many people forget that Joe Hart did start out at Birmingham in his Premier League days, when Birmingham did have quite a good squad back then. I mean, I think I might have a Birmingham player. Well, I was drawn towards a few Birmingham players, especially from that season, the 09-10 season, which is where Birmingham did prevail. I think they got 9th in the end in that season. But I do remember that season vividly, plainly because it was the year Burnley first came up to the Premier League and then went straight back down again, which was it was a fun time while it lasted. But no, I have got someone from that season for Birmingham in my squad, but we'll get to that later on. But my keeper for my team comes from the 2008-2009 season, and goalkeeper in question has had an illustrious Premier League career. Let's just put it that way. And it's Mark Schwarzer.
Oh,
Yeah.
Mark Schwarzer gets my position in goal. I mean,
double Premier League winner without playing a game.
Exactly. I mean, that's a great stat to have. 2 Premier League medals without having actually played for it.
Played for Leicester and Chelsea back to back. They won the Premier League back to back. So
yeah. But no, Mark Schwartz has always been a great keeper over the years, especially when he was at Fulham, Middlesbrough, even as a reserve keeper at Chelsea. He did a good job. Yeah. But this is reminiscing future Premier League years and the days where the Premier League was so good. I mean, this week we could have spoken about the European Super League, and I know for a fact that we've all got an irrational hatred of it, and I think the majority of football fans across the world have an irrational hatred of the supposed Super League.
Well, to be fair, I mean, there's been such vast broadcast of this European Super League that everyone gets the gist on it. So,
Exactly. That's the only reason we've not done it. So many people have spoken about it, but we could have easily done a full episode on it, but we decided to do this instead, and I think this will be more fun to do, in reminiscing back to the glory days of when the Premier League used to be good and not money-driven.
Right, I'm going to go with my right back, and it is an absolute legend.
Wait, let me just say first, I've got a back 3. Plainly because I wanted to get more attacking players in. I mean, the 3 defenders I've got are not actually centre backs; they're just 3 defenders.
Okay, I've gone for a 4-4-1-1.
Right, I've gone 3-5-2, 3-4-3. I think I have.
I've gone very park the bus with a 5-3-2.
Oh, right, we're going to John.
There's too many good centre backs. I had to go 5 at the back.
Right, so if I do, I don't know, 2 to Ben's 1, and Rob says 3 to my 2 to Ben's 1. I don't know.
Well,
right,
we'll
so
figure
basically,
it out.
my right back is the absolute legend, and shout out to Jake Pitt for this one. Pascal Chimbonda, Sunderland, 2008-2009 season.
You see, I've also got Pascal Chimbonda in my side as one of my 3 defenders, but I did it for the 07-08 season. I mean, it could have been either season, 07-08 or 08-09, because those were the days when Chimbonda was an absolute tank for Tottenham, formerly of Wigan, joined Spurs in 06-07, and then is just an absolute gun for Spurs from 2007 all the way to about 2010. I mean, we had an evening in the flat just reminiscing old footall players from the Premier League, and Pascal Chimbonda was right up there, and I made Jake's week when
we must have named about over 150 players that night.
Absolutely. And I reckon a load of them will probably come up in these teams. But Chimbonda is in my back 3. Yes, he was originally a right back, but just for the purpose of this, I'll just pick 3 defenders. But go on then, Rob, you say your first one.
Might as well start. I'll start at my right wing back if we're kind of doing fullbacks.
Yeah.
I'll go on for 2008-09 season, and I've gone Antonio Valencia for his final season at Wigan.
Yeah, good shout.
Technically, he was a winger in that season, but he played right back over the rest of his career. And a lot of people I've picked, I've kind of gone, I haven't really done for the season performance. I've just gone
to be fair,
later on.
I know that Man United eyed him up as the replacement for Ronaldo when he left, right? But he was so consistent. Everyone goes, oh yeah, he was Ronaldo's replacement, but he never put a foot wrong. He never had a bad season. He always played well.
I mean, the fact that he ended up being United's skipper for a while shows how much of a consistent player he was.
Yeah.
And
he reminds me of like a Darren Fletcher and a Michael Carrick.
Yeah, his versatility as well. The fact that he came to United as a right mid, took that number 7 shirt at first, and then got transferred into a right back. I mean, that shows versatility to me. And he was a good right back as well. He was a very good right back when he was in his United days. But we can't talk about it because that's not what we're talking about. Focusing specifically on his Wigan. And as a Wigan player... to be fair,
at Wigan, he was a very good winger.
Absolutely. And it's a justified pick. 100%. I mean, he pretty much carried the Wigan side in that season that you were suggesting in 08-09. I mean, it certainly earned his position at Manchester United, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But no, it's a good shout, Antonio Valencia. It was one I didn't think of, but I have got a Wigan player coming into my. I have got a Wigan player coming into my side at some point, but it's further up the pitch. So I'll go into my next defender, and it's the only actual centre back I've got in my team. And again, it comes from the 08-09 season, the season that Fulham did so well in the Europa League. And the centre back in question is a Fulham player. It's Brede Hangeland.
No,
great player.
Brede Hangeland, the absolute fraud,
he was
took
consistent
a
as well.
Norwegian player born in Texas. I mean, fraudulent as you can get, but he's such an absolute tank at the back, rock at the back, almost a Europa League winner. I mean, that Fulham side of 08-09, how bad they got at times in the years to come. It's the same with Bolton as well, how good they used to be. And it's those sort of clubs that football was, and that's what we need to remember football by. Not this rubbish with the Glazers and Henry and Abramovich. We need to focus on the teams like Bolton, your Wigans, your Portsmouths and stuff, who made the Premier League what it is today.
So that was another discussion we were having in the flat the other day. We were talking about just kind of like iconic Premier League eras, like talking about Delap era Stoke or Southampton under Pochettino, saying Bolton Allardyce era is right up there.
To be fair, I've got a Fulham player from the 09-10 season when they got to the Europa League final, but he's further up the pitch.
Right.
But it's justified because of what he done in the semi-final. Like, he is a legend. But yeah, my next defender is Richard Dunn from Manchester City, 08-09.
You know what?
Yeah.
I was thinking about Richard Dunn, but I chose Hangeland in the end. I mean, I did have another player in that could have. My squad is basically, it's kind of a mix of a good squad, but kind of a meme squad as well. I mean, I did have Tony Hibbert in at one point. I mean, I had to take him out, but I did have Hibbert in and then chose Hangeland instead. But no, I think fully back that.
Yeah, in my squad, I think I've got solid picks in every position. I went for specific positions instead of like meme players or what. So yeah, 09 Richard Dunn from Manchester City.
Yeah, good player. Mm. In his Man City days, and then kind of went to Villa, and it all went pear-shaped almost.
Pretty much, yeah.
It's like most players, when they leave a big club, they then become a flop. But how are we going to do this next? I've only got one more defender left, so I presume I'll just say that just to get it out of the way.
Go for it.
And it comes from the 11-12 season. I mean, the person I've got isn't actually a centre-back, and that player is a Premier League legend with a wonderful left foot, and it is Leighton Baines.
What a lad.
Yeah. I'll jump across. I might as well hop in because I use my left wing back in my team, so I'll go across over to the other side for the 11-12 season.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was the season where Everton just missed out on the top 6 that season.
Yeah.
Again, he's one of them players that are consistently good. Like
exactly.
They put in consistent shifts. Like through season after season, like it's just consistency, and that's what you get with Leighton Baines. He was brilliant.
I mean, the fact he's still at Everton.
PFA team of the year, the year of in 11-12 as well. Despite Everton not having the best of seasons in comparison to previous years, shows how good he was.
He's pretty much Everton through and through, really, because they signed him from Wigan back in about 2004, and he'd been at Everton ever since, and now he's on the coaching team at Everton in the academy. I mean, that's an Everton stalwart if ever there was one. And he'd probably go down as a Premier League Hall of Famer almost because of the legacy he's left. And he's probably one of the best left backs to ever grace England and the Premier League.
100%.
So that's my defence done.
I believe me and Rob have got 2 left now. You've said Leighton Baines, Rob?
I can't remember. Have I said any of my 3 centre backs yet? I can't remember.
I don't think you have. Already. All right, you've got 3. I've got 2. So if I go first, right. My next centre back is Sol Campbell for Portsmouth, 2007-08.
That's it. That's easy because I've gone for the exact same thing. Sol Campbell 0708, exact same thing.
Now that Portsmouth team in 0708 FA Cup winners. I mean, it's absolutely unbelievable. And I have got a Portsmouth player from that team further up the pitch, but not much further up in the midfield. But no, Sol Campbell, absolute legend at Arsenal, at Portsmouth, at Tottenham, Premier League stalwart, England stalwart.
Yeah, some say he's still
centre
sliding
back
against Croatia.
No, I know. Has he got a manager's job at the minute? Because I know he did have
Been around.
He's had a few knocking arounds in League 1 and 2 with jobs. I think he was at Southend as manager, but then got sacked from there.
Yeah, they're about to go down.
Yeah.
Well, I think they need to beat Leyton Orient and results go their way, but if they lose to Leyton Orient, they're down. But yeah, I'll just finish off my back four, if you don't mind, Rob. Right, so it's from the 2010-11 season, and it is the new manager of Inter Miami, former England women's manager, Phil Neville for Everton.
Philly Neville. Yes.
Again, another
strong
player.
Everton player. Another strong Everton.
Yeah.
That Moyes era at Everton was probably one of Everton's best ever. I mean, they're on the way back up now with Ancelotti, but that Moyes era from about 2006 all the way up to when he was appointed Man United manager, those were the years when Everton were always pushing towards that top four in Europa League positions. And the base they had, defensively in particular, was really good.
Yeah, I mean, I know that like under the Moyes era, he played like centre mid, but he did start off originally as a left back.
Yeah,
I could have had Leighton Baines, but I thought I had a feeling you two might have gone for him. So
that's what it'll be. Well, I've probably have loads of honourable mentions that we've not got in our own teams, but could have easily got in. Because I could think of loads.
Yeah. Rob, do you want to round off your defence?
Yeah, well, my other two centre halves, I'll start off with the other one. My other player from 0708, so I've got both of them in already, is Ledley King from Spurs.
Ledley King.
What a lad. It's a shame injuries.
Did you know he single-handedly built Tottenham's new stadium?
I can believe that. He's a lad.
Single-handedly built it.
Yeah, I thought it's just, and his career was let down by his injuries. I thought it would have been right up there amongst Premier League greats. I thought I had to get him in there somewhere. And then the final centre half I've gone for somebody from the 08-09. Probably wasn't their best season in the Premier League, but they finished in the years where they peaked. They were a top six. So I've gone Vincent Kompany in his debut season at Manchester City. Yeah, that's
a great shout.
That's a very feasible option. Absolutely. I mean, the player that Vincent Kompany became, I mean, he had to start somewhere, and that season was where he came into the Manchester City fold when the Sheikh Mansour money started pumping.
To be fair, as a Man United fan, it's gonna be painful to say this, but I do rate Kompany. He's been such a great player for the Premier League.
Yeah.
He has. Do you know what I mean? Like, all rivalries aside, he has been a great... It's like when Gary Neville, when he scored that goal against Leicester, where's you on your statue? If anyone deserves one, it's him.
Exactly.
Because what he's done as a Manchester City player and to represent the Premier League is fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's some great picks already, and I think it's just going to get so much better going forwards. So I'll move on to my midfield. I'll say the four I've got, and then we'll see if you lot have got any of the same. So I've got a right mid, left mid, a defensive midfielder, and an attacking midfielder. So my right midfielder comes from 09-10. By the way, none of this midfield, any of the teams now are not actually in the Premier League anymore. None of them are in the Premier League anymore. So 09-10, I've gone for Charles Nzogbia at Wigan.
Oh, what a lad he was.
Defensive midfield goes to the 07-08 Portsmouth squad for the legend is Suleiman Tari.
Player.
Attacking midfield, we go to Blackburn for the 06-07 season and the legend that is Two Guy.
No.
And at left mid, we go to Bolton Wanderers from 10-11 for Johan Elmander.
Very
That's
strong.
my four.
Good player. Okay,
my
so
4.
I've got. What do you call this? A 4 or 5? We'll go with midfield 5. So I've got at right mid, Peter Odemwingie for West Bromwich Albion, 2010-11. Banged 15 goals in that season.
Strong again, yeah.
Another strong pick.
Two midfield players. I've got Robbie Savage for Derby County, 07-08.
Wasn't that the season where they got 11 points?
Yeah, but it's Savage. He's an absolute like wind-up merchant. You got to have him in there.
Well, it's like putting Jimmy Bullard in just because he's a wind-up merchant.
I debated that. It was one of the two. Next to him, I've got Scott Parker, 06-07 for Newcastle.
Yeah.
Again, another strong player, consistent. And then this is an interesting one. I've got Adel Taarabt for QPR, 2011-12. Funny, you would say that, but in his first season when they got promoted, he's got 2 goals and 5 assists in the Premier League. The season before in the Championship in 2010-11, he got 19 goals and 21 assists.
See, I like Taarabt. I think he's a good player, but the only issue I have with him is when he was in the Premier League, I thought he was quite greedy. I thought he was a very greedy player and a bit selfish on the ball, just trying to make himself better, trying to move to Chelsea or Arsenal or something. But it turns out his career went downhill and now it's come back uphill with him at Benfica now.
The streets will never forget that 2010-11 Championship season, put it that way. And then in a false 9 attacking midfield position, we have the one and only Clint Dempsey for Fulham, 2009-2010, the season when they got to the Europa League final with that audacious chip against Juventus in the semi-final.
Yeah.
Banged in 8 goals that season, and one of them was a chip from outside the box against Cannavaro and them boys.
Clint Dempsey's on my honourable mentions.
Very strong shout, Clint Dempsey. Didn't think of him.
He's on my honourable mentions, but it was on my honourable mentions for 2011-12, the season before he moved to Tottenham. I think he was about the 4th top scorer that season in that 11-12 season. But I'll just go back to my quick picks quickly. Charles Ngzobia, absolute legend for the Premier League from his time at Newcastle, Villa, and Wigan. But his time at Wigan was the one that was more notable for me. I mean, he's just an absolute legend of the scene. And Solly Montari again, absolute stalwart in defensive midfield in that Portsmouth squad that won the FA Cup final under Harry Redknapp.
Again, another consistent player. Consistency. That's what you get with him.
Yeah. I mean, Johan Elmander from 2011. I mean, he was a brilliant player, the Swede. He was that good. He got a Player of the Month one year. He got a Player of the Month in that season, quite early on in the season. I mean, that takes some doing from a Bolton player.
Yeah.
And then
no one will ever forget the turn he done in the box. Done 4 players at once.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then Tugay, you can't not love Tugay. I mean, the hair.
You can't.
He's Turkish. I mean, you just can't not love him.
And he could bang them in as well.
Absolutely.
I'm incredibly annoyed that I forgot about Tugay when I was doing my team.
I mean, Jake persuaded me to put him in, but he was always going to get in my books. Absolute legend of the Premier League.
All right, so I'll run through my midfield then.
Yeah, go on.
Go for it. Yeah,
they're all centre mids because of the random setup I've gone for. I've gone incredibly defensive. I just realised I've got 5 at the back and a CDM, so I don't really know what I was thinking there. But
you must be thinking of foot champs, mate.
A slightly defensive player. I've gone for 06-07 Gareth Barry.
During
his Villa days.
What a
Gareth Barry.
During his Villa days,
could have gone in. It could have practically gone in any season, really. Gareth Barry.
Yeah, it was just a case of picking the right year.
Premier League Hall of Famer again.
There's quite a lot of these players where there was a few I was just struggling for the year. There was a few where I was like, I could just slot them in whatever year. And I was like, the years to trip me up a bit. You're talking about Harry Redknapp. I wanted to put Harry Redknapp in as the manager of my team, but I'd run out of picks for that season, so I had to go down a different route. And then just in front of Gareth Barry, the other 2 midfielders, I've also gone Scott Parker, but for the 10-11 season at West Ham.
Yeah, that's a good shout. There was one that was on my honourable mentions that season. I mean, he got in the PFA Team of the Year that year.
Yeah, so I went down that route, and I got my first. I Is it my first player from? No, it's my second player from 11-12. I've gone Steven Gerrard for the year Liverpool missed out in 2011-12. Originally,
knew
the
that
plan
was
was to
coming.
get him in. The plan was to get him in for 09-10, but I picked two different players. I got Joe Hart and I've got somebody else coming up, which I thought was the better option. So I referred back to 11-12 because I had another year to get away with. Because apparently we're dreadful at getting top six in this era you've chosen, which is brilliant.
3 solid picks, especially Gareth Barry. That's one that is a Premier League Hall of Famer. I mean, just his ability to control the midfield, and he'd done it for so long because he was playing up to about the age of 38 at West Brom.
Yeah.
I mean, that takes some doing, especially in the
Premier
League.
I think it was his strongest era while he was at Villa as well. So I thought that was quite a good year to go for.
Under the days of Martin O'Neill, I mean, those
He
Villa years from 2006 to 2011 were Villa's best.
Yeah.
Other than when
he
they
reminds
won the
me a lot
Champions.
of James Milner.
Yeah,
It does.
Like him,
It does.
they're very two similar players. Like they just give it all for the team, and they just have that consistency, and they just put in a shift. You can never go wrong. Yeah,
Definitely. And the other two as well. Well, Gerrard, I mean, he's just a Premier League legend. I mean, there's no getting away from that. All rivalries aside in that, he is probably one of the best central midfielders to ever grace England and the Premier League.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was just a shame that Liverpool had those couple of years where they were a bit stinky. Back in like 2011, 2012, before they had the John Henry.
Yeah, that's the only reason he got. That's the reason he got. And as soon as I started looking through the top six of those years, I was like, I know we missed out on a couple of those years, so Gerrard's getting in there straight away. Yeah,
because you missed out in 09, 010 and 11, 12. I mean, for Liverpool, that's poor, really. But
missed out, came second and followed up with a 7th the next year. Brilliant.
It's cunning to think of Liverpool, especially in that manner, seeing as they did finish out the top 6, which makes it a feasible pick. But John, have you said your midfield, didn't you?
Yeah.
You did, yeah. Let's move on to the attackers then. So I've gone with I've gone 3 attacking players. It's basically 3 strikers. My first striker is from the 06-07 season. He actually came second top scorer that season, only behind Drogba. And it's a South African man himself, Benny McCarthy.
Did consider him as well as one of my options, but I ran out of players for that year.
Second striker, I've also gone for a Liverpool player from the 11-12 season in Luis Suarez.
Again, another close option there.
And then the final player has also already been said by one of us, and it is Peter Odemwingie in the 10-11 season. Absolute legends, all of them. I mean, the one that I was definitely getting in was Benny McCarthy. I mean, the ability in a Blackburn side that were mid-table to get second top scorer behind Didier Drogba, that takes some doing.
He got ahead of Ronaldo and Rooney in that season as well.
Absolutely. That is taking some doing. And South Africa's not a big footballing country, but you have got some brilliant players that have come out by the likes of Benny McCarthy, for example, Stephen Pienaar. I mean, Stephen Pienaar, there's another one. Again, it's just going to
another option there.
It's going to be coming back. I mean, there was one that was on my books. I think I've got 2 or 3 strikers written down as possible replacements. I mean, I've got Asamoah Gyan for the 10-11 season at Sunderland as a on the border pick. I've also got Dave Kitson. I mean, that sexy ginger man, the absolute lanky son of a man.
I believe he's got the fastest red card in the Premier League as well, hasn't he?
Probably. I won't blame him. I wouldn't go against it. And then obviously Yakubu. I mean, it could have easily got in the team, but he is on my honourable mentions.
I didn't bother doing any honourable mentions. It took me long enough to pick a team, as you both know, because I delayed recording by 15 minutes by finishing the team.
Another striker that's just popped into my head, Obafembe Martins. I mean, another legend of the scene from Newcastle and Birmingham. I mean, the goal he scored in the League Cup final to knock Arsenal out and win it for Birmingham, playing Europa League football in the Championship. I mean, if that was Burnley, we'd end up getting relegated to League One. But no, they're my 3: Benny McCarthy, Luis Suarez, and Peter Odemwingie.
Yeah, I've only got one, and it is the 18-goal man for Blackburn Rovers in the 06-07 season, Benny McCarthy.
Yeah.
He was just so good. And
Absolute
like
gun.
I said, to be only 2 points off, 2 goals off getting top with Drogba says it all. And to be fair, they didn't. I don't know where. I can't remember where they finished in the table.
It was mid-table, I think. Blackburn.
Yeah.
I think they were about 9th.
Yeah, 10th. So to get 18 goals for a 10th place team is incredible.
I mean, it just pained me to do it, being a Burnley fan, putting 2 Blackburn players in, but that Blackburn team in 06-07, such a good side in the Premier League.
Yeah.
2 Guy and Benny McCarthy working together. I mean, Jake mentioned Morton Gamps Pedersen as well. He's another great Premier League player.
I've forgotten so many.
There's too many. It's like I said earlier, it's just reminiscing. Another striker as well, Kenwyn Jones, Sunderland and Stoke player.
I took the longest to do this, and I've forgotten most of these players. I think I would have gone back and changed it now if I'd remembered some of these players now.
So who's your strikers, Rob?
My first one, I'll be honest, it is kind of cheating a bit because his best years weren't really in this era, but I just thought, great player, I wanted to get him in. So for 06-07, I've got Mark Viduka.
Yeah.
I mean, his better years were the period at Leeds and so before this season at Middlesbrough. Probably had his best years more like 04-05, sort of that time. But as soon as I saw his name when I was doing a bit of research, I thought he's got to go in there. And then I originally planned to go Suarez for 11-12, like you did. But then I switched to a different one and went Fernando Torres for 09-10 instead.
Fraud again.
Just before
such a
fraud
fraudulent
went to Chelsea.
Picking Liverpool players when they weren't out, when they were out the top 6. I mean, again, Torres, one of the best strikers to ever grace the Premier League. I mean, especially in those Liverpool days. I mean, goes to Chelsea and he suddenly becomes dreadful. I mean,
I can't complain at that, to be honest.
Can't get away from that goal he scored against Barcelona, where Gary Neville practically had an orgasm.
Goalgasm.
Yeah, but no, Torres is a good shout, and we've got one thing left to do, and that is the manager pick. I mean, I must say I did struggle with my manager, plainly because I wanted to get Harry Redknapp in from that 07-08 season, but I'd already used Sully Montari and Pascal Chimbonda from those seasons. So I did have to go from 09-10 because it was the only one I had left. And it's probably not the best manager for the job, but I did have to pick Alex McLeish from Birmingham.
Yeah, you can't. To be fair, the season Birmingham had, good choice.
I mean, there could be better picks, but then again, there could also be worse. Getting a team like Birmingham in the top 10 in the Premier League is quite a good achievement.
Yeah. I mean, I think I was in quite a similar situation to you when it came to manager. Originally wanted Harry Redknapp, but had used those years up already. But I was left with 10-11, so I've gone with David Moyes.
Yeah.
So actually, it's the second time we've gone and picked. The second time we picked an 11 and a manager, and I picked David Moyes as manager in both times. So team of the season and now this.
Exactly, the team of the season, which I believe was episode 14. If you want to go back and listen to that to see how our team of the season so far have fared out in the remaining weeks of the season. But go on, and John, say your manager.
So with mine, I did it a bit differently. I picked the manager first and then built the team around that.
That would have been wise, actually.
And mine is
clever.
Mine is a no doubt, no brainer. Okay, so for the 2009-10 season, it has to be Roy Hodgson getting Fulham all the way to the Europa League final.
Again, another great
what
pick.
an achievement! What an achievement!
I mean, you could have also said Big Sam at points as well, getting Bolton far in the Europa League.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many good managers in that era that were outside the top 6. It's just reminiscing all of them and just remembering the days when the Premier League used to be good. And we have players like Chimbonda, Charles Nzogbia, Guy. I mean, players like Tunchai, who I had written down, the former Stoke and Middlesbrough player.
Yeah.
I mean, players like that. We've got Kevin Davies from Bolton.
Yeah,
also players like Jonas Olsen from West Brom, and no-nonsense centre-back. I mean, he was one that I wanted to get in, but I felt there was better options. But Now
Another one, Kevin Nolan.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We
I was
could
close
go
to
on
Mark
and on and
Noble in
on.
as well.
We could
Mark
go
Noble
on and on and
in
on.
the
with
midfield
this.
space.
We could talk about hours reminiscing over footballers.
And we have
Yeah.
already done this in our
Yeah.
flat, reminiscing for about an hour and a half, just ex-Premier League greats. I mean, Roque Santa Cruz is another one as well, which could have easily gotten as one of the striker picks. But it's just remembering all, because it was such a struggle remembering a lot of these players. And the ones that I did remember were only ones that were quite well known. I mean, there was some I did have research, like Breda Hangeland that I never remembered. And players like Charles Nzogbia I would never have remembered. But no, I think I'm certainly happy with everyone's teams and the players that are in them.
Great choices.
They are all Premier League greats. And it actually means that we might have kept the podcast episode under 40 minutes. Which is a shock.
To wrap up, whose team do you reckon is winning if they met? A little round robin tournament.
Oh, that's a good shout, actually. I'd want to back my own. But if I was going to back any of them, I'd probably back John's, mainly because of the formation that you're playing, Rob. Because
you ain't scoring past my team. It's going to be nil. I'll probably have 2-0 nils in my two games.
You've basically got 6 at the back.
Yeah. You start calling him Jose Bins with the part of the bus formation.
I know.
It's because I set up. It was meant to be a 4-3-3 with a defensive midfielder, and I changed my mind because there was too many good centre backs, and then forgot to change the defensive midfielder.
Yeah.
I back myself purely because I've cheated effectively and picked top class players like Gerrard and Torres. I've kind of cheated a bit, so I'd back myself.
Go on, John. Who's would you pick? Just round up.
Well, I'd pick my own, but I mean, I'd simply pick Rob's because he's got Torres up front, and Torres was lethal.
Yeah.
Like, if you've got Gerrard in the midfield, feeding them balls through, Torres is sticking them away, especially in the Liverpool days.
Yeah.
Like, it just pained me being a Man United fan every time we played them because A, Vidic would get sent off, and B, Torres would score. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, well, at the end of the day, I think we all want to back our own, but
we all picked great teams. We
all picked great teams, and we may well do this further down the line with Europa League and Champions League teams, the greats of them. But we'll save that for future weeks. But for this week, that is the end of the episode. Hope you've enjoyed it, and let us know who you would have picked in your teams on our Twitter pages, which you can find in the description below. So for now, it's goodbye from all of us, and take care. Goodbye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.